Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MPGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and with me today I have Wedge from TheManaSource. Wedge, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing so well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So it's been kind of like a back and forth trying to get you on the show. So glad I could get you on here. Just happy to talk to you on Skype now. Just having a blast.
I love what you're doing on the MTGO Traders channel. I do a lot. So I was really happy to come on here. This is going to be good. I think we have a good relationship, so I'm pretty happy about it. I feel decent.
Good. So first question I always ask everyone on the interviews is, the first question that a lot of people get asked is, how did you get into Magic the Gathering?
Okay, I'm really going to age myself. All right, so I'm pretty sure I was like 10 years old.
Okay.
When one of my friends introduced me to Magic because we were playing Pokemon base set. Right. Like really old school. And he was, now mind you, we're like preteens, and he's like, this is like Pokemon, but more like chess. Okay. And I'm like, I'm in, right? That was pretty much all I needed to hear. And then after that, we sort of dove in, and it became just this weird obsession. Mm-hmm. And, the local game store near me was very accommodating to young players.
Awesome.
So that I started just going there all the time.
Yeah.
But I guess technically I was introduced to Magic when I was 7, when my dad accidentally bought me a pack of alliances that he thought was like a really mature type of Pokemon or something. I honestly don't know.
Oh, that's awesome. He's just like, this is for like a bigger boy than you are right now. So
I had no idea what I was looking at, but I still have the Balduvian Horde. Was the rare I opened.
Oh, nice.
First rare I ever opened. Now
so
it's common.
Yeah, what was like the set you came into, I guess, whenever you first started? Do you know?
Yeah, so it's Urza Block is generally where I came in. That was where I started going to FNMs and started learning, or started just making my own decks. Right. The most experience I had was with like Urza Saga and Tempest and Exodus and Stronghold.
Okay.
It was a really interesting time to come in because Urza Saga was broken, so it was a really weird way to start Magic.
Sure.
I
keep telling people like where I came in with Magic and like trying to like kind of date how everyone kind of got into Magic. That's kind of around our age. And I got into it when I was in high school, and it was Kamigawa block, which is apparently everyone's like, it's the worst block to get into. So I was like, whatever. I liked Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I got into Kamigawa. I'm a weeb, so that's how it goes.
Kamigawa was actually when I took my first break from Magic.
Really?
When Champion. Yeah. I've taken very few breaks from Magic, as you could probably guess, because I'm obsessed. But when Champions came out, off the tail end of Affinity being insane,
right?
And then they released this thing that just doesn't look like it makes any sense in the Magic universe. No one understood what was going on.
Sure.
And we were all just like, nah. A lot of us just backed away.
Oh no.
For a couple years.
That's funny.
So it's kind of a black hole for us.
I got you. I mean, that's a lot of black holes for a lot of people. Like, everyone I've talked to about that particular set, they're like, yeah, I kind of backed away for a few years and then came back around like Mirrored and Besieged. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, man, I didn't realize it was that bad until now, Favorite format, I guess, moving on from like the sets and stuff, favorite format playing when you were kind of getting up in Magic? Or now, I guess?
So growing up, my area was, or I live in upstate New York. And for those of you who don't know, upstate New York is like the hotbed for Vintage. It's been the hotbed for Vintage forever. Most like core Vintage players are in the Northeast at this point. And when I was growing up, my store only played, Type 1, only played Vintage. So that's the exposure I got all through middle school and all through high school, because even when Type 2 Standard picked up steam, everyone at my store was like, why would we play Standard when we could just play with more cards? Right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone had power, everyone had duels, So it didn't really matter. Like
Okay.
I just played vintage all the time. Um, which is funny because I never actually get to use that expertise at all, like on the channel, because like 9 people play vintage really.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's funny.
but
Yeah,
it
because
was all vintage.
wow, it's funny to think about that, like how there's different hotbeds all across the country. For me, it's like I went down to Pensacola, Florida, where my fiance was for a while, and then she moved up here last year. But I went down there to a local game store, and I walked in. I was like, I'm gonna play some standard, and they were like, "This is modern territory. Get out of here, nerd." And I was like, "What? What? I had no idea."
Get out of here, nerd.
I know it was so bad. But yeah, the vintage is crazy. I've never even played vintage like in paper Magic. That's insane.
Yeah, it's like the Wild West of Magic, really.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Whole bunch
that,
of nonsense.
I guess that would lead you like casually or like naturally into like Commander, things like that.
So actually, when I was first introduced to Commander, when the format started taking off, I was in college, and the first thing I saw related to Commander was Woodfall Primus being like $11, and after being like $1, and even then, before the channel even started, I'm like, that price spike is stupid. Price spikes are stupid. So my first instinct was Commander is a dumb format because it's just making cards more expensive than they should be.
Right.
So my only goal when Commander first started was to build a deck to make people never ask me to play Commander again.
Oh no.
Because at the time I hated it, and
Right.
that's where Angus Mackenzie came from. He's my best Commander. The deck doesn't win; it just draws.
Okay.
And games take like 5-6 hours, and then no one asks me to play again.
Right.
Obviously, I've
unfun.
changed my mind since then. Commander is definitely a great format, and I'm glad it exists.
Yeah.
But we
It's
still live
grown
in
on
a
you, I
world
guess.
where Moat is like $1 billion. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, isn't that kind of the way of all formats? Like all formats exist to spike one or two particular cards. Like right now, Walking Ballista and Heart of Kiran are insane for no reason. It's like these cards
Yeah.
will be good, but like they're gonna rotate. Like Walking Ballista is still gonna be good in Modern, but like, I mean, Heart of Kiran, I don't know. We're moving on here. We're getting into the weeds now with the financial stuff. That wasn't on my list of questions. Next
listen,
question here.
I'm going to attempt to. I'm not even going to attempt. I will inadvertently tangent us 1,000,000 times.
Hey, that's
important that you know that.
That's fine with me. The next question here is: what is the most fun archetype out there that might not be the most competitive, but you like?
Any format?
Any format.
Okay. All right. I'll go with Mono Green Belcher in Modern.
Oh no.
I have fallen in love with that deck.
Okay.
I built it for a video last month, and I love the deck. Like, and it's actually competitive against a lot of high tier strategies. Like, I've domed Affinity, I've domed Hollow One, like I've domed Tron. I mean, you Goldfish, sort of, right?
Right.
And
Yeah. Exactly.
the Mono Green Tron deck can like win on turn 3 or win on turn 4.
Right.
And it's completely out of nowhere. And if you don't have a way to kill the Goblin Charbelcher, the game's just over. And I love the deck. It's dirtily as heck, but crazy consistent for no reason. I mean, I feel like Mono Green Belcher is like a sleeper. I know I sound crazy because there's like never gonna be like there's no way it could ever be tier 1 in Modern, but like it does so well. It's like I have 5-0'd league or like I've 5-0'd like daily events, and
Sure.
I've seen other people do it too. Like the deck is so good. Like play Mono Green Belcher because it's cheap and ridiculous.
Yeah. You sound kind of like an old man yelling at the sky or something about this deck. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Wow. Mine is always in every format. It's Mill, just because Mill never really works, kind of, but it works enough to where I'm like, I'm having fun. Are you not having fun? Because I'm having fun. That's it. That's my favorite.
I mean, I guess the Mill deck in Modern, because I tested that for a while too, and we did decently well. Like it has pieces, but it's so slow.
Yeah.
Like it's just too slow by like 1.5 turns.
Yeah.
Which sucks. I guess for people who like Mill, but for the other 98% of us who don't, they're probably happy about it. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It just needs just a couple more pieces. Let's hope Core Set comes out with something that's a little bit better. Just a little bit.
a cheaper glimpse the unthinkable. It's
Exactly.
like just one black mana.
Maybe like a Bounce a Land Mill 5 or Mill 8. That might be cool. Like something just insane like that, you know?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Just one crazy card.
So moving on to like newer formats and stuff. Dominaria just came out a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on Dominaria? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
I think. Okay, so again, like, set hasn't been out that long, right?
Right, right.
I think design-wise, it's probably my favorite set since Cons.
Okay.
I think it's deep. I think all the cards have very clear value. I think the synergies are fair and balanced. I think the colors generally are fair and balanced.
Yeah.
I think what I like most about it is you can see the power in the cards individually, but there isn't that feeling like, oh my God, this is an insurmountable card, or this is going to create something exceptionally stupid. Because I think what people have been so used to is energy, right? Like that's the main example I use, is energy as a mechanic is kind of dumb. And it was, I think it was very clearly a design mistake at this point. And so when we look at sets, I think people are looking for like the next energy, right? The next thing that's just,
It's the next infect. It's the next energy, things like that. No,
yeah, exactly. And I don't think Dominaria has any of that.
No.
And it also brings back all these like core elements that we've like loved to see before. Like there's a lot of artifact synergy, tribal synergy, you know, mass tokens, like this classic feel that Dominaria has somehow managed to inject flavor into card power, which I don't think is all that common.
Yeah, I think
so. I love it.
Yeah, I think for me, like Innistrad, the Cons block, and Dominaria, whenever they have the ability to merge the simplicity of like just magic, just straight up, just good, clean magic, with the flavor, I think that's always going to be a win. Like always going to be knock out of the park. Whenever it's like you have to think about like an exterior like counter or something like energy or infect, like something that's not really part of the game, that's never been part of the game, that's when it's like you're pulling away from what is, you know, technically what makes Magic good from a like turn-to-turn basis. I think that's why I feel like Dominaria to me is one of my favorite formats so far. Yeah, and probably since Cons, I would say too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, even if you think back to, like even if you use that as sort of a way to judge if a set is good, you'd be like, oh, look at sets where flavor was injected into card design. You get to things like Lorwyn, right? Which people loved, or like Ravnica, which people loved.
Right.
These sets that have found a way to really bind the two together in a way that's fair, and Dominaria has that classic feel. Like it feels good.
Yeah. On the other hand, if you have too much flavor, you're gonna get a Kamigawa, right? just a little too much, right?
That was so. Actually, Dominaria is fixed Kamigawa. For all intents and purposes, because. So one of the main issues with Kamigawa, in addition to the fact that it was such an abrupt story change from where we were that most people just couldn't connect to it, even on just a fundamental level, they took legendary creatures, something that had always been exciting and dynamic and important, and they made them nothing. They made them useless. They did. They printed 1 million legendary creatures, most of which were just always bad. Like even in decks that they were supposed to be good in, they weren't. So you get this idea that like, oh, these important characters, they're all watered down, they don't mean anything. And then in Dominaria, you also have that, oh, there are legendary creatures that are uncommon, but each of them has such a personal and unique feel to them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they do something very specific, and they represent a mechanic, or they represent part of the attitude of the plane in a way that the Legends of Kamigawa didn't do. So
I can definitely see that.
In a way, I think it kind of is like a fixed Kamigawa.
Yeah, I mean that's totally a good way to parallel it with each other. I mean that's really good. You make totally sense there. Wow, I didn't even think about it from that direction until you said that. So, that's really interesting. Really. I mean, like, moving from that, though, we have, all the legendaries in Dominaria are now, commanders, but also, like, commanders for, like, Brawl. How do you feel about Brawl right now?
Okay, I actually, okay, as somebody who is surrounded by bulk 24/7, I have so much of it, I could literally make walls out of it.
Right.
As someone who's surrounded by it, I think Brawl is a genius format.
Okay.
Because now obviously casual players have been able to build whatever they want.
You're right.
But
Exactly.
when Wizards supports something so casual, it gives players some focus, right? It gives them a target, and they're able to,
Fit in
kind of
that
gather
box,
their thoughts
kind of.
better.
Right.
Brawl is the most ingenious way to turn draft chaff into useful cards.
Amen to that.
That's honestly what it does. Like
Yeah.
all these extra cards that you open in boxes you don't need, or that you draft that you don't think you'll ever use again. Brawl is standard legal, so the power level is obviously much lower than Commander, or like
Right.
the entry level is much lower.
Yeah.
So
Very to entry, right.
a lot of these cards have life again, even if only temporarily, which is better than the alternative, which is they're just stuck in a box forever.
That's correct.
Like, I mean, and I think the bigger thing is that especially when a new player hears about Commander, it's obviously a casual format, but it is so overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
whenever I try to teach Commander to new players, I'm like, oh, there are what, 16, 17, 18,000 plus
Yeah,
cards in Magic.
it's crazy.
All of them are in Commander. Commander's 100 cards. Like, Brawl is such a gateway in a genius. It's a genius way. It's genius for Wizards because they make all their cards relevant
Right.
that are in Standard. It's genius for players because you're allowed to use legendary creatures or planeswalkers, which gives you the ability to sort of craft your own identity, and you have a huge selection, right? You have a huge variety you can choose from, and then you can build entire Brawl decks out of like 10-cent cards and still be competitive with like a group of
Yeah.
four, like three of your friends.
Right.
I think
Whenever-
it's genius. I think it's genius.
Yeah, it's great. Whenever Brawl came out, like me and Jolt on the channel, we started making Brawl decks, and we were like, these decks are like $20, maybe $30, maybe $10. They're just so cheap, it's crazy. But
Yeah.
we also had today. It's like we had the Brawl bans. We had Baral, Chief of Compliance, banned from Brawl. It's very hard to say that
Yep.
together. And also all the cards that are banned in Standard, unbanned now. Which, I mean, you got Cat Combo back.
Yeah, I think this is like their only problem that I saw from the beginning was stringently keeping to everything that's banned in Standard is banned in Brawl, and I'm
Yeah.
like, these are not the same formats.
Right.
Like, this is, you can't. That's not a good idea. This change, if anything, further legitimizes the format in a huge way because they very quickly reacted to Brawl, like very quickly. I mean, it's only been a few weeks since people
Sure.
were like, "Yo, Brawl is insane," and then like they don't have to keep up with a normal banned and restricted list because Brawl is not, modern. It's not a GP format.
Right.
So they could just announce things whenever they want. So they were very quickly able to do that, and now the format's just wide open again.
Yeah.
Like everything's just wide open, and if something ends up being broken, they can just real quick. And I think it further adds to the format's playability and like reliability that Wizards is so intent on at least attempting to support a healthy meta.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the best part about Brawl right now. I keep wanting to say Brawl instead of Brawl. It's gonna be hard to do that. But yeah, I think Brawl for me right now, it's like the ultimate casual format. If they see something like a Brawl Chief of Compliance just going out crazy, they can just immediately get rid of it like that. And then every single time Standard rotates, there's a whole new slew of new cards that keep that particular format fresh. I think the biggest challenge will be probably when rotation happens in November. What will we see from Brawl? As far as like the shrinking.
You're definitely right. I think what it does though, or one of the things I'm excited about, is when the fall set comes out and like and rotation happens. All these new cards that are coming in that people would only pay attention to for limited are going to get a whole new slew of like spotlights on them because like, oh, this can go into this Brawl deck, this can go into this Brawl deck, and it creates a whole new avenue of conversation. So yes, losing cards is going to suck, but I mean, if there was ever a budget format, it would be Brawl, right? I mean,
Right.
that is a budget format for days.
You think it would be
So
Popper, but nay, sir, nay. It is
no,
Brawl.
no, it is definitely Brawl. Popper
Yeah.
is less budget by the day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If Popper ever got a GP, Oubliette would be $200.
Oh yeah, insane. So I'm going to move on real quick from Magic itself for a minute because we just kind of spent a little bit of time on that. Going to transition from
Only
that
a little.
to just a little bit. Going to transition from that to YouTube. Kind of starting like, how did you get started on YouTube, and how did you kind of find your, I guess, voice on the channel or on the platform?
So I've been watching YouTube since like '05, like as pretty much as long as it's been out. I thought it was genius back then, like when I was in high school. As I aged and went through college, I watched partners. I watched people like Philip DeFranco start vlogging and making his own like community. And again, like as I got older, it just seemed like that was a place I felt like I could belong, if that makes sense. Like I have like anxiety issues, so I don't feel like I fit in that well in a lot of like physical communities, so to speak.
Sure.
And when I was on YouTube watching other creators or even just reading comments on other videos, especially once I found Magic on YouTube in like 2011-ish, I was like, this feels like somewhere I could like actually make friends and sort of make a community. And that's when I'd say around 2012 is when I had the idea. I was like, man, how cool would it be if like I talked about Magic, because I love Magic. So then after I graduated college and was trying to figure out what to do with my life, while I was like looking for work, I was like, hey, hello friends, do you want to help me with this cool thing?
Right.
I want to make videos about Magic, and I think it would be really neat because no one's kind of doing the stuff that I wanted to make videos about. And I was like, I think it would be cool. And then we kind of just started out of nowhere. I have had no training in anything, like public presentation. I suck at public presentation. Yeah. Like all that, just awful. My voice just came from how much I love the game, I guess. Sure. Like as every time I write a script, I'm just excited while I'm writing, and that
comes across in your scripts too, or when you're in your videos as well, for sure.
Yeah, it's just I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to Magic, and it obviously doesn't have universal appeal because I'm very hyped to a lot of people.
Right.
But that's who I am about Magic, and once the channel started like gaining traction and we did thorough spoiler coverage, everything sort of blew up after that, and it's just sort of been this like crazy ride that makes no sense since then. Right. And like now here I am, like this is my job. Like I don't know, it's kind of crazy to think about, but
yeah. My next question was like, how has YouTube kind of impacted your life? I mean, it's just it's like your job. It's crazy.
YouTube and Magic together saved my life. Without this channel, without my community, I would honestly have nothing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that I've dedicated the last 5 years almost. Yeah, it'll be 5 years this summer. The last 5 years of my life to like building what I have, and I take great pride in the TheManaSource. I take great pride in the community that I've helped build, and it's it literally means everything to me. Like in a priority list for my life, it's like family, the TheManaSource, literally everything else. Wow. It's just I love it to death. There's nothing like they would have to pry me away from this platform. They would have to pry the platform away from my cold dead hands to get me off of YouTube.
Yeah.
That's why I always thank viewers all the time, and I'm always like, hey, I love all of you, because it honestly saved my life. Like this platform is amazing, the game is amazing, YouTube is the bomb. Hashtag ad. I mean, not really, but
dude, hashtag sponsor, hashtag ad, whatever you want to say. You know, this video's gonna get demonetized anyway. It doesn't matter. Oh man. So kind of moving on from this. This is more of a kind of a serious question, kind of mixed in here. Last year, we kind of saw a little bit less of you on the YouTube platform, and I feel like a lot of us kind of realize now that that was kind of due to your battle with like depression. Can you give any advice for people who struggle daily with this, and what they could do to maybe hopefully kind of overcome it?
Yeah. So my advice for dealing with depression is a little different than most people. My advice is, admit that you have it and realize that it's going to be hard. I think what a lot of people try to do is they try to fight the fact that it's hard, and they're like, oh, it'll just get easier. It'll just get easier. It doesn't. And it's important to know that. It's important to make a contract with yourself that it's going to be hard every day, but you have to live, and you have to like go see somebody or get medication, or you have to find some way to push through how hard it is, because it isn't going to get better if you don't. It's just not.
Right.
Like, you will be down forever. And I guess I would try to remind people that you're not alone. You're never alone. Other people have dealt with this too. Every person's different, obviously, but I know what it's like to wake up and be upset that I woke up and like not able to get out of bed. And
Yeah.
it's an impossible feeling to explain to someone who's never felt it. But reach out, talk to somebody, anyone, because doing it alone is pretty much impossible. Like, sheer willpower is not enough to counter yourself. So that's I guess that's probably all the advice I would give, is just
that's
acknowledge that it's an issue and that it's going to be hard, and just look at it realistically. Don't be like idealistic or hopeful. Be like, oh, if I just think hard enough, it'll be fine. It won't. It really won't. So yeah, just get help. Like, talk to anybody. Do literally anything, but nothing. Do anything but nothing. Yeah,
that's like the best advice I've ever heard. Yeah, personally, I mean, for me, I don't know. I go through ups and downs myself, and it's just it's rough. So hearing that kind of stuff like that is really powerful. So thank you for that. That was great.
No problem.
You're good. Moving back to a more lighthearted question, because we got to sandwich the good, the bad, and then the good again. That's how these interviews work.
That, for the record, that wasn't bad. Like,
no, it was just a little
mental health awareness is super important.
That's true. I misspoke. I should say more serious note. I guess I should say that.
Yeah.
More than these magics and all this stuff.
Magic's super serious. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, some people
filthy casual.
I know. I am a filthy casual, and it's very apparent by how I make my videos.
Have you seen mine? Come on, guy.
I'm having people now, just a sidebar, I'm having people now starting to count how many times I say the word actually in my videos, because I say it a lot, apparently. I didn't realize it. They're like, you said this word 15 times in a 10-minute video, and I was like, what? I had no idea.
This is why you need to script, man. This is why you need to script.
I know. I did a script for a long time. It's just like, I liked like just kind of talking in front of a camera, and now I'm like, I feel like I should get back to the script. So.
I have a script editor just to make sure I don't sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because I write like I'm talking, and that doesn't translate to like speech very well.
Correct.
Like, because I should say I write like I'm rambling. I should say, and when you're like not having, because the video is not a conversation, right? A video is me lecturing basically, or presenting, and you need a certain narrative for that. And a lot of the times when my scripts are finished, it does not look like it would be conducive to that. So I have to like change up stuff, and then he'll tell me like, this doesn't make any sense. That's fair. It doesn't.
Not in a sentence.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So I guess the question I was going to ask from that, because we got on tangent again, what do you do that's not magic related, like video games, anything like that? What kind of stuff are you hooked on right now?
So I love video games. I've liked video games forever from the NES that my dad put in my room when I was like 6. I adore video games. Right now, I mean, obviously everyone and their parents are playing Fortnite, so I'm playing Fortnite. I like playing games with other people, so I'll play like those bigger games like Fortnite or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or Overwatch, but my favorite game is probably World of Warcraft. It's been my favorite game for a really long time.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of MMOs. It lets me escape reality. It's a good de-stressor. I think that, especially now, I think we're in such a golden age of gaming, right? Everything is advancing so fast, and there's so much positive spotlight and especially money coming into the industry.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That I really, really, really like video games. It's just, it's funny whenever I'll post something about video games on Twitter, people are like, you do things that aren't magic? I'm like, yeah, I'm a human guy, all right? Yeah. I have other interests.
It's hard. It's funny. I like how, like, from my background right now, I have like a bunch of like video game stuff and like boxes and all that kind of stuff. And people are always like, I like your stuff. And then one comment will be like, where's your MTG cardboard? Where is that at? Where's your representation? I'm like, this is a video about Magic the Gathering, folks. Like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any. It's dumb. It's like I have other interests too. Come on now. It's funny. But yeah, dude. World of Warcraft. Loved me some WoW back in the day in high school for sure. Went from like played a little bit of EverQuest, kind of dabbled in that a little bit, and then went into WoW. And then I kind of bounced around from like Lord of the Rings Online, and then went and played Final Fantasy 14 when that came out. And I've been kind of on that train for a while now. So.
Yeah, I still play Final Fantasy 14 sometimes. The thing is, MMOs take so much time, right?
Oh,
and I don't have the time to dedicate to a lot of that, except when a new WoW expansion comes out. I do nothing for like 72 hours. It's a real problem.
Yeah,
there was like a whole thing.
I had a friend of mine who took off like a week from work or something like that. He's like, "Oh, new WoW expansion's coming out," and I was like, "Oh, when is that?" He's like, "That's tomorrow. I'll see you in a week." And I'm like, "What? Where are you going?"
Yeah, like it's a big deal. See, I told you we'd go off on a crazy tangent.
Yeah.
There's nothing cooler in gaming than a new WoW expansion the first week. It's like the biggest boom ever. It's the most exciting thing on the planet. You know what it is? It's like a week-long Magic pre-release. That's what it's like.
That's a good that's a good way to put it. Wow.
See, and then I brought us back. You see?
You brought us all the way back around.
I took us out, and then I brought us back.
So I don't want to keep you any longer than you already have been kept. I've kept you way too long, honestly, myself. Last question. And this is one I kind of have to ask this, but when is the worst cards ever video coming out? Come on now, you have to tell me this, right? Wedge, where you going? Wedge, where you going, buddy? What? Well, all right. I guess he just won't let us know that. Okay then. So after like waiting for like 5 more minutes, I'm guessing Wedge isn't coming back after that question. So that's probably going to do it for this video today, guys. Like if you like all that kind of fun stuff. Subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. Subscribe to Wedge if you haven't already. He's a fun guy. I highly, recommend his videos. And just don't ask him that one question because he won't answer it. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.